Okay, guys, so this is chapter 1, lesson 1 notes video. So what's going to happen is that we are just going to walk through our chapter notes, and you should have a copy of these in front of you, and go ahead and copy them down as I go through them. They will be beneficial for you to study from and use as you do your homework, okay? Or I guess your assignment, I should say. All right, so the first thing that we are going to go over is 1.1 points, lines, and planes. So we're going to fill out this little table here that will help you understand what these are. So a point has no dimension, so we're going to write none here. Okay, definitions. Okay, again, it has no dimension. It has a dot representation. And it is actually an undefined term in geometry. Okay. So the picture, it just looks like a little dot, and then we put a capital letter next to it. Okay, and for the notation, if you are wanting to refer to that point, you would have to write the word point and then put the capital letter that it is named with it. Okay, so in this case, it would be point A. All right, for a line then, it is one dimension. Okay, it is represented by a line with two arrows. It extends without end, okay, meaning it goes on forever in both directions, which is why those two arrows exist there. And then it is also an undefined term in geometry. Okay, so our picture, we have a straight line, two arrows. Okay, we are going to place 2 points on that line. We'll call one A, call one B, those are both capital. And then we're gonna put a lowercase L out to the side of it, okay? I go ahead and make mine look cursive to look like it's italicized, okay? Whenever we're writing, that's how we do it. So to name this line, you have a couple of options now. Okay, you can say line L with the word. You can say line AB, and you can say line BA. It doesn't matter what direction you go in. But in addition to the last two, okay, you can also use a symbol notation. Okay, so you would write the two letters, capital A, capital B, and then up above it, you would write a line, and it has to have two arrows above it with it. Okay, or again, it can go in the opposite direction. BA has to have two arrows. Okay, so those are all correct ways to name that line. Okay, if that's what you are given up in the picture. All right, the next one is plane, and it is two-dimensional. Okay, it is represented by a shape that looks like a floor or a wall. A plane also extends without end. And this is the last undefined term. Okay, you have 3 undefined terms in geometry. Okay, so what it looks like, there's my plane. Okay, we are gonna put 3 points on that plane. So A, B, all capital letters, C. Okay, and then over in the corner without a point next to it, I'm gonna put a capital M. Okay, so the way that we can name that plane then is plane M. Or you can say plane ABC. Again, ABC could be in any order, but I'm just gonna write that one. Okay, you can, so what ABC is though, what it's showing is that you can use 3 different points to name a plane. However, those points can't be on the same line. Okay. All right. Now, oh, you can't see the line. Can't be on the same line is what I put there. Okay. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. All right. The next one is ray. Okay. We're going to just hop over because we don't really talk about the dimension a lot with rays. So a ray consists of the endpoint A and all points on a line. So I'm going to put the two arrows up above, capital A, capital B, that lie on the same side of A as B. Okay, so what that means is I have this endpoint A, and then if I made a line in the direction of B, okay, that would be a ray. Okay, and this ray here would be called ray AB. Okay, but we could also have a ray that starts at point B, but this time goes in forever in the direction of A. Okay, this ray is called ray BA, and you notice that I have just one arrow and they always point to the right, okay, regardless of which direction your ray is pointing on the paper. Okay, notice here I started with A because that was my endpoint where it started. Notice here I started with B because again that's where my endpoint is and where it starts, and then it goes in the direction forever in A. Okay, it goes in the direction of B for forever. Okay, so these two are different rays. Not the same thing. Okay, you can't change those around like you can for a line or a plane. Okay, then we have opposite rays. If C lies on line AB, remember two arrows up above, capital A, capital B, between A and B, then ray, again it points to the right, one arrow, CA and ray CB are opposite, I'm going to abbreviate, rays. Okay, so what that means is if we have this line, okay, two arrows, and it's called AB, and we have a point C that lies in between A and B, okay, ray CA and CB are opposite rays. So that means is that they have the same endpoint or a starting point, but then they shoot off in opposite directions. Okay, it's all on one line. Okay, it can't be CA is here, but then CB goes up here. Okay, nope, it has to be a one straight line. Okay, C is in between A and B on that line. Okay, all right, the next one is line segment. It consists of endpoints A and B and all points on line AB that are between A and B. Okay, so this time there's two endpoints. So a segment, think I'm just taking one little piece out of that whole line. So it does not go on forever. Okay, it has a starting point and an end point. Okay, so here, instead of putting an arrow above it, I can just put a line and I can call it AB. or I can call it BA, or I could call it segment. Okay, if I was reading that, I would read that as line segment or segment AB, but that's what that little line stands for. But instead, I could also write the word segment and then write AB, or again, write the word segment, then BA, or I could write the whole phrase line segment AB, or the whole phrase again, line segment BA. Okay. If it was me, I would probably choose one of these two or the top two, but it's totally up to you. Any of those would be correct whenever you're naming that segment. Okay, the next word is actually just a vocab word, okay? It is collinear, and it means points that lie on the same line. Okay, so if you wanted to draw a picture, here's my line. I have points A, B, and C. I could say points A, comma, B, comma, C are collinear. Okay, in the same sense, or maybe I should point this out, if you think about, I'm a parent, maybe we'll think about it this way. If you've ever heard the term co-sleeping, okay, like parents sleep with their kids, like all in the same bed, basically. Co means to share, right? You're sharing the same bed. This time they are sharing the same line. Okay, so there's co, and then inside of here you can see line. Okay, so they share the line. Well, here I see co again, so I know that something's going to share it. Planar. Well, they share a plane. So points that lie on the same plane. Okay, so maybe I draw a plane here, A, B, C. Points A, comma, B, comma, C are coplanar. Okay, again, those aren't on the same line, so that's important. Okay, and the last one is angle. It is the set of points consisting of two different rays that have the same endpoint. Okay, so I have two different rays, but they're going to go in opposite directions, but they have the same endpoint, so they're the same starting point, right? So I'm going to call that A, C, B. Okay, and I'm going to put a number 1 inside there. Okay, so whenever we want to name this ray, if this ray existed all by itself, I could just call it angle A. Okay, if angle A was like this though, I could not name it just angle A because here's an angle A, here's an angle A, and then I have this big angle out here, angle A too. Okay, so only if it's the only angle there, like this picture here, I could name it angle A. Okay, if I have more than one angle, okay, you would have to use all three letters, right? So I would have to do CAB. Okay, that endpoint that they share needs to be in the middle, or you could start the other direction, do BAC, but notice again that A has to be that middle letter. Okay, or lastly, if they have that number inside of there, you could call it angle 1. Okay, so those are your choices there. If I went too fast through this, please go back and pause, fill in whatever you need to. and catch up, because this is super important that you can refer back to this, okay? But if not, we're gonna turn the page and keep going. All right, so vocabulary words at the next page. I talked about these undefined terms, right? So they were point, line, and plane. And they have no formal definition. Okay, defined terms then are terms that can be described using known words such as point and line. Okay, and then the next one is intersection. It is the set of points, figures have in common. Okay, so if I have the intersection of two lines, so here's a line and here's a line, okay, you can think of that as like kind of like two roads passing. They share just one point. Okay, two lines share one point when they intersect. But if I have two planes that intersect, now I'm going to tell you right now, I am not an artist. We do not judge drawing in here. I'm going to do my best to kind of show you what I'm talking about here. Okay, so here's one plane. If I have another plane that's coming up, okay, and it goes through that plane, and I'm going to do dotted lines because you can't really see it because it's technically underneath the other plane. Okay, if that is going through it, so that's kind of like if I took, let's see here. I had this piece of paper and this piece of paper was cutting through it, okay, going this direction. That's what that's kind of showing you right there, okay? So if that's the case, then this whole thing is what's intersecting, okay? And remember, a plane, all planes, keep going forever in every single direction, which means that this also keeps going forever in both directions, which means that two planes intersect at a line. Okay, those are important. All right, so example one here, it says give two other names for line PQ and plane R. Okay, so let's put A here. So two other names for line PQ. So if I find P and I find Q, okay, so that's this line going up and down here. Okay, well, I could just flip the order around. Maybe I'm just gonna put QP. Or maybe I wanted to write the word line and then write PQ. Or I could write the word line again and put QP. Okay, either one are fine. So let's do one of those. So let's do line PQ as our other one. Okay, then it says to do the same thing, but with plane R. So let's see here. Okay, so here's my R. So that's this whole plane here. Okay, so I have to choose 3 points then that aren't all on the same line, which means that they're not collinear. Okay, so let's see here. I'm gonna write the word plane. Then I see V is not on a line, so that's safe. S and T. Okay, well maybe this time I want to do plane V again, but then S and P. Okay, the only point that you could not use, okay, to name this plane would be Q, because it's not on that plane, right? So if I get my piece of paper out again, here's my plane, right? And this line right here, this line QP is coming up and through it, okay, like that. Okay, so that point Q is up here on my pen, not down here on my plane. okay? It's up here on the line, not on the plane. So I could not use that one as one of my choices, okay? And I could not do SPT because those are collinear. Any other variation or order would be correct, okay? So lots of choices there. Those are just the ones that I chose. All right, now B, name 3 points that are collinear. Well, we just kind of talked about that, right? So collinear means on the same line. So I have Q, P, well, there's not any points on that line. N is not a point, okay? It's lowercase and it doesn't have a little dot next to it. So I cannot use that. So instead I have to use this other line and I can use SPT. So you would write the word points, S, comma, P, comma, T, okay? You don't have to rewrite the word point each time, but you also cannot draw the little dot next to it, okay? That is not correct, so do not do that. If you want to, write this and then put a big X through it. That is not correct, okay? You cannot draw a dot with the letter and call it point S. Not okay. All right, so then it says the next one, name 4 points that are coplanar. Okay, well, I know those points that I just wrote down are all on that plane because that line's on the plane, and then I can also add in point B. Okay, again, I wrote the word points, separated them out by commas. All right, example 2, give another name for segment GH. Well, you could just reorder it, HG, or you could write the word segment, or you could write the word line segment and then flip the order or write it in the same order. Any of those are correct. Okay, and then it says B, name all rays with the end point J. So if I start at J here, okay, and I can go in multiple directions. So if I start at J, remember a ray is a line with one arrow pointing to the right always. I could go J to E. I could go J to H. I could go J to F, and I could go J to G. It says which of these rays are opposite rays. So to show or to indicate opposite rays, I'm going to put the and sign between them. So JE is opposite of JF. So that means that JH is opposite of JG. Okay. If you need to go back, go ahead and go back. Listen to something again if you need to, or make notes of what you want to ask questions about. If not, we're going to keep going. Next page. Okay, so example 3, we are going to do some sketching. Okay, again, I'm not a huge stickler on what these look like, as long as I can tell kind of what you're trying to get across here. Okay, so part A, it says sketch a plane and a line that is in the plane. So here's my plane. Let's name it. That's important. So I'm going to put capital M at the bottom. Okay, and then a line that is in the plane. Let's draw a line. It's in it. Give it 2 points, A and B. Done. All right. B, sketch a plane and a line that does not intersect the plane. All right, well, here's my plane. Again, I'm going to label it M. And this is kind of hard to draw on paper because, again, we know that a planes go on forever in all directions, but kind of think about, here's my plane, okay, and if it doesn't touch it, it would be parallel. You're going to kind of learn about that later, so it would be up here. So if I want to turn that sideways so you can see it better, here's my plane, here's my line, so that they're never going to touch because they're going to always keep going forever in both directions, but they're not going to actually run into each other. Okay, so to draw that on the piece of paper, I'm just going to draw a line up here above it, draw it the best I can so that it shows that it's not touching, and I'm going to label it with a capital L, or sorry, lowercase cursive L. Okay, do not draw a line that's going up and down, right? Because that looks like it's for sure going to run into that plane then. All right, then C, it says sketch a plane and a line that intersects the plane at a point. Okay, so that's kind of like what we were talking about earlier, is if I have my plane and it just intersects it at this point and then it goes through it and continues going forever. Okay, so what that looks like Here's my plane M. Okay, here's the point that it intersects at. Let's call that A. And then my line goes up. Okay, so that's where I can see it, right? I can see my pen up above this paper, but then there's this section underneath here as it keeps going that I can't see until it gets past my plane. Okay, so that means I'm going to draw dotted lines through here where I can't see it, and then I'm going to extend it again. Okay, and let's label that with L again. All right, so we already kind of talked about example 4 back on the other page, so you can just put C vocab. Okay, just to save us some time there. All right, so then if I go down to example 5, it says the diagram shows a molecule of sulfur hexafluoride, the most potent greenhouse gas in the world. Name 2 different planes that contain line R. Okay, so here's line R right here. Okay, so you're kind of thinking about this. It looks like this, maybe, and my line R is my, whoops, you can't see it. Okay, is my blue pen. Okay, so I see that I could take the red pen out, and those are on the same plane. Okay, or I could have this plane that's running up and down. So if I take my purple pen out, that would be on the same plane. Okay, so if I was naming these, I could say that one of them would be plane. So this one that's running sideways through here, if I took a piece of paper and moved it sideways through there, it would have B on it for sure. It would have D on it. And then I need one that's not on that same line. So how about E? Okay, and then I have another one that I said was kind of running up and down, right? So again, I could say B, I could say D because it's on that same line, but instead of this time going out, I'm going to go up to A. Okay, you could use a lot of different things to name those 2 planes. Okay, those are just the 2 examples that I used. So if you have any questions, if you're going to be seeing me in class, just bring those to me. If not, you need to email me or set up a one-on-one so we can talk about it.